So in this video, I'm going to go over the performance exam review for Mach 7, and we'll be doing separate videos for all of them, okay? So the first one here says radical function. So this is our Mach 7 question. So you're going to get 3 points for A and B. So 2 points for your work and 1 point for your correct answer, okay? So let's go ahead and work through this. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 1 from both sides. So that's going to give me the square root of 5x equals 7, and then I'm going to square both sides. So go ahead and square both sides, because that's how we get rid of a square root. That's going to give us the 5x over here, and that's 49. Then we're going to divide both sides by our 5. So that's going to be x is equal to 9.8, okay? So now we want to check this answer to make sure that it's not an extraneous solution. So we're going to do the square root of 5 times 9.8. And when we do that, plus our 1, that equals 8. So when we do that, we get the square root of 49 plus 1. So that's actually the square root equals 8. So that's 7 plus 1, that equals 8. So yep, 8 equals 8, right? I don't know why I put that not there, y'all. I have no idea. I'm going crazy. So it does check out. All right, so our next one, notice there's a 0 over here on the right. So we're going to go ahead and add this to both sides, which means really, truly, we're going to end up with an equal sign between here, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and start by putting an equal sign right there. Then what do we do to get rid of the cube that's on both sides? We would cube both sides, right? So we would cube this to get rid of the cube root. Cube this to get rid of the cube root, okay? So then we got the x plus 6 is equal to the 3x minus 1. And then we're going to, let's go ahead and subtract x from both sides. And let's go ahead and add 1 to both sides. So it's going to give us 7 over here. That's now gone, and that's now gone. And that's equal to 2x. And then we're going to divide both sides by the 2. So that would give us 7 over 2 equals x. We could also say this is what, 3.5. So we don't have to check cube roots, if you recall. Now you could check it just to make sure you got the same answer, but you don't have to check them. So here's our last one, 1c. So here again, notice that we have a square root, so we're going to square both sides. That's going to be our first step. Maybe if I can get my pen to work. So we're going to square both sides. So the square takes care of the square root. So we get 11x minus 28 is equal to x squared. We're going to move everything to the right side. Okay, so that means we're going to subtract our 11x from both sides, and we're going to add 28 to both sides. So when we do that, we get 0 over here, and we get x squared minus 11x plus 28. Then we're going to factor that. So we're looking for the factors of 28 that add up to be negative 11. So that means they're both going to be negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So this is going to be x and x here, because that's x squared. So aren't we going to have a minus 4 here and a minus 7? We're going to set both of those factors equal to 0. And when we do that, we get x equals 4 and x equals 7. Now what we want to do with those, because again, this is square root, we got to check them. So we're going to plug them back up in the original formula. I'm going to do 11 times 4 minus 28, and does that equal our 4? So this is going to be 44 minus 28 equals 4, and this is a square root of 16 equals 4. So yes, 4 equals 4. So that one checked out. So that's definitely one of my answers, okay? And let's check the other one. So this one we're going to do the same thing. Let me move this over here. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so we're going to put the 7 in there now. So we're going to do the square root, again, of 11 times 7 and minus 28. Does that equal our 7? So this is going to be 77 minus 28. Does that equal 7? 77 minus 28 is 49. Square root of 49 is, guess what? 7. So 7 is equal to 7. So that one also checks out. So we do have 2 answers that are actual answers for this, not extraneous, okay? If one of them didn't work, then we would have an extraneous solution. All right, so this next one says the height of a free-falling object is given by h equals v squared over 2g, where h is height in meters, v is velocity, g is the acceleration due to gravity in meters per second squared. H is the distance in meters that the object has fallen. The value of g depends on which body or planet we're on, okay? So This is asking us to solve for h. So we're going to take our original equation right here, and we're going to put it in here. We're going to solve for h. So we got h equals v squared over 2g. So to get rid of something in the denominator, hopefully you recall, we multiply by it. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2g. So that's going to give us 2gh is equal to v squared. Now, how do we get rid of a squared? We take the square root, right? So we're going to take the square root of both sides. So that's going to give us v equals the square root of 2gh. So that's part 2a. Part 2b says if an object on the moon falls from a height of, so this is our h of 31.85 meters, where the gravity, and that gravity would be g. What is the velocity? So we're going to solve for v this time, and we're given a g and an h. So velocity is equal to the square root of 2 times gravity was the 1.57. Our height was the 31.85. So we're going to just multiply all three of those things together. And when we do that, we get that v is equal to the square root of 100.009. So obviously the velocity is going to be 10, right? Because square root of 100 is 10. And that would be meters per second. Okay? So then part C says, if the height of the object was changed to 38.6 meters, how would it affect velocity of the object? So this time we're changing it to, so this is our new height, right? So we're going to say velocity is equal to, again, the 2 times the 1.57, only this time is times 38.6, okay? So again, multiply all three of those together. V is going to be equal to, this is now the square root of 121.204, and when we go ahead and take the square root of that number, we get 11 meters, right, per second. Okay, so then part C says, how does it affect the velocity of the object? So if we talk about how this affected it, when it changed, the velocity increased by 1, right? Meter per second. How did I know that? Because what we would do here is we would take the 11, we would subtract the 10, and we would get the 1. Okay. So here's our part 3. It says solve the following equations. Negative x plus the square root of 22 minus 2x equals negative 7. Solve and explain every step. So what we're going to do first is rewrite the problem down here. So I'm going to do negative x plus the square root of 22 minus 2x equals a negative 7. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that negative x. So I'm going to add x to both sides. So that's going to give me the square root of 22 minus 2x equals, I'm just going to do x minus 7, y'all. Okay? So what I did there was simplify, right? By moving things to one side of the equal sign. Now we're going to square both sides, okay? So actually, let me just write that simplify for my first step. Simplify, comma, then we'll talk about what we're doing next. So then we're going to square both sides, right? So then we must square both sides of the equal sign. If I can get my pen to work again. Square both sides. So I'm going to write then square both sides of the equation or the equal sign, whichever you want to put. I'm just going to say equal sign. Okay, so when I do that, remember this cancels out, so I get 22 minus 2x. And remember, you got to use the box method if you don't remember how to do this the other way. So we're going to do x squared minus 14x plus 49. Then we got to move everything to, we got to basically set this equal to 0, right? So we got to move everything. So we are going to have to subtract the 22 and add the 2x. Subtract the 22, subtract the 22 and add the 2x, right? So when we do that, we get 0 equals x squared minus 12x plus, what did I get here? 27, right? All right, now what do we, so that was simplify and set equal to 0, right? That was our next step. Then simplify, simplify, and set equal to, wow, I cannot spell today, y'all, to 0. Then what do we have to do? Then we have to factor, don't we, y'all? Then we have to factor, then simplify and set equal to 0. Factor trinomial and set factors equal to 0. That's what we're going to do next, okay? So we're going to factor this. So the two factors of 27 that add up to be negative 12 would be negative x minus 3 and x minus 9. Set both of those equal to 0. So that would be x equals 3 and x equals 9. Okay, so now we must check these, okay? So we're going to go back to our red here. And so the next thing is we're going to check the solutions. And because we got to make sure that they are both real solutions and not extraneous. So check solutions. Oh, my pen is not happening today. Check solutions. Okay, so I'm going to put the 3 back up in here. So I got negative 3 plus, the square root of 22 minus 2 times 3. And does that equal negative 7? That's what we're asking ourselves, okay? So I'm going to scroll up so I have a little more space here. So we get negative 3. This is 22 minus 6 equals negative 7. That's a plus right there, sorry. Negative 3 plus the square root of 16 equals negative 7. That's negative 3 plus 4 equals negative 7. No, it does not. So that's a 1 that does not equal a negative 7, right? So that means this solution at least is extraneous, right? All right, let's do the other one. So we're going to do the 9 now. So same thing. We're going to put it back up in that original equation, y'all. So we're going to say negative 9 plus the square root of 22 minus 2 times 9. Does that equal negative 7? Okay, so this is going to be negative 9 plus 22 minus 18 equals negative 7. So this is going to be negative 9 plus the square root of 4. That equals negative 7. So that's negative 9 plus 2 equals negative 7. And yes, it does, because negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7, right? So negative 7 does equal negative 7. So that's key there because that checked out. So that means our one and only solution is our x equals 9. Check solutions. Comma, let's say what we're going to say. 3 is extraneous solution. And so if there is an extraneous solution, you got to write that word, y'all. And 9 is the solution. Okay? So that's kind of what we're expecting y'all to write. All right?